So binging shows
Oh,
um,
yeah.
as a way to manage, for me, it's helping me with, I have the itch now, that itch of, should I go someplace? But then trying to sit with why do I really want to go? And
Exactly.
I realize I don't really want to go anywhere. I'm just feeling, okay, it's been over a month now. And I just, I just want to go, but I don't know what I'm trying to get away from. But I feel like the last couple of days, my energy's been low, and physically, I've just been kind of achy and having a hard time just being here now.
Mhm. Yeah, I get that. That's kind of how today was for me. My kids are far away in different places, and sheltering as we're supposed to be in place. And you send funny little memes back and forth, and cute pictures of the kids out hunting Easter eggs, and like doing all the business as usual things, but it's not business as usual.
Right.
And I feel like I'm in this weird sort of suspended animation place. And so I just thought, okay, I'm gonna just fix myself a nice meal. I'm going to finally watch Mad Men, which has been like on my like list of things. And then I looked at how many episodes there were, and it was like, who has time for that? Well, I have time for that. So, and it's totally sucked me in because that's just like, the clothes and the hairstyles and just that time period is sort of when I was coming up as a kid. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's been a nice distraction. And I try to break it up with like getting outside and taking a walk. I've been drawing a lot lately, which has been
Yeah.
really interesting, what's sort of like kind of coming through.
Yeah.
And yeah, but kind of that same itchy feeling. I'm just tired of knowing I shouldn't be outside,
Yeah.
like going somewhere to
Right.
visit with people, to see people.
Right.
And it's the knowing that you shouldn't makes you want it.
It's like we're 5 years old again, and mom has said, you can't go outside.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
And the weather here is so beautiful.
yeah, here as well.
Yeah.
Our last conversation, we were talking about distractions, and that really has been the theme of so many of my conversations. And I was so appreciative that we were able to give it some words, because since then I've had several conversations with people, and they've talked about things they're doing to distract, and some difficulties they're having with sitting with this and being slow and being quiet, and they feel these kind of rumblings coming up, um, but they want to distract. And so there have been a lot of conversations with, how do we just continue to be moment to moment with all of these changes and differences.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think a lot about like different historical times when human beings on some scale, not, certainly this is our first sort of global scale where we're sort of all feeling in it together, which is highly significant. But, like I think about what was it like for people who, were living through this in a war zone and having to
Mhm.
shelter, and like, you know, we come from that stock, but boy, we we don't necessarily recognize this as not nearly as significant as what future generations have had to deal with under other situations, and trying to figure out how to scramble for food and keep people safe. They were not worried about boredom.
Right. You're not
It was
worried about board.
low on the list.
Right.
And so when I think about this problem, it makes me get a little bit like ashamed of myself, a little bit sort of, like, really. But then I do that whole like suffering is suffering.
Suffering is suffering.
Accept it and let it go. You
Mm-hmm.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was thinking about this when I was thinking about the poem for today. And there's a pattern emerging because I had a poem in mind, and I was going to do a poem from the lads, Owen and Molly.
Oh, nice.
And but when I was just sitting with the poem and sitting with how we met the lads, and just the grace that flows through them and through their mother, another poet showed up for me. And it seems to be that I have one poet that is always showing me the poem for the day, but it's by someone else. And so the poet that found me is one of my all-time favorite poets and singer-songwriters, and he's an Austin local by the name of Sam Baker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I think he showed up because his medicine is his words. I mean, that's the healing that he puts out in the world. But it didn't come to him until his adult life, and it didn't come to him until he experienced a tragedy and a trauma. Do you know this story?
No.
So in the 80s, he was traveling in Central America, and he was on a train. He says he got caught up in someone else's war, and there was a pipe bomb on the train that he was on, and he sustained, he lost the hearing in one ear, and then he has extreme tinnitus, so he hears ringing 24/7. And he says it's so loud, the only time he doesn't hear it is when he has his guitar amp up high and he's playing. And one of his hands was damaged, and they didn't fix his hand because they didn't think he was going to live. But he lived, and so it was so late to fix his hand that it was damaged so severely he had to learn to play the guitar with the other hand.
Wow.
And I'm going to shorten this story, but he tells this story that when he was trying to recover from this trauma, one of the passengers on the train who died showed up and basically said, I died, and this is how you're going to honor all of us, by doing this, wallowing. And that moment, he realized that he needed to be putting goodness out into the world. And he writes the most beautiful lyrics. And at first blush, they're very simple, but they are so profound. And he has taken this trauma and this tragedy and uses these feelings and puts it into his music. And I realized that one of his songs is a mantra of mine that I say several times every single day. And I say it to people and give it to people. Mm-hmm. And he is so full of grace. And I felt like today I needed grace. And I had a feeling that a lot of us might need some grace today. So I have the crown bowl, and this is our crown chakra, which is connects us to spirit and our spiritual nature. Mm-hmm. And she was really calling today, as well as this lovely poem by Sam Baker.
Right. I brought my heart bowl too.
That's so lovely. Would you play it?
Yeah, let's play them together.
Let's play them together.
This is a true resurrection story, Sam's story.
Oh, I'm going to share a link.
Yeah.
in our comments, and you can hear more of his story. It's an incredible story, and how, you know, I I think it's amazing that it was the loss of his hearing that allowed him to begin to hear his own voice. He was not a singer musician professionally when this happened. Um, but now he hears this voice and he shares it with his poetry, his music. He has been painting. He has written a musical based on this tragedy. He travels the world all year sharing his music. And I've been to some of his concerts where there are people from England who know him and are here to hear his music. So,
Right.
yes. So let's open our hearts to some grace. This is a poem and a song called Go in Peace by Sam Baker. Go in peace, go in kindness, go in love, and go in faith. And leave the day behind us. The day is gone, go in grace. And let us hope by some good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Go in peace, go in kindness, go in love, go in faith. Leave the day behind us. The day is done. Go in grace. And let us hope by some good pleasure safely to arrive at home.
So out of that, is your mantra go in grace?
So that whole song, I say to myself several times a day, and several times a day, especially when I'm beginning and ending my meditation. It has evolved for me. May I move through the day with ease and peace and grace and joy. But that grew out of his just beautiful song.
Lovely. Yeah, I'm still sort of thinking about the symbolic timing of that coming together for today, since it is Easter Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and that he had to die to an old life to create this new life. And in that, I bet he would say, I'm sure it has not been an easy road by any stretch, but would he change things being where he is today? It would be so interesting to know, like, what grace has, like, brought him through to where he is. It's
Right.
really interesting. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm curious to know more about his journey.
There's a wonderful link with NPR. I'll find it. He tells his whole story.
Okay.
Um, and I went to one of his very small, intimate concerts where he spent the intermission talking about this tragedy and details that I hadn't heard before. And this grace that emerged, and he began to hear his true voice, and the grace that he puts out into the world. I love seeing his shows, and his shows are always small. And so it's as if he's putting on a private show in your house. He keeps the shows really small. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
interesting too, this kind of following the thread of the call last week or earlier in the week, responding to the voice, responding to that's telling you, oh, this is who you are now. This is what you need to be doing.
And I feel like as a collective, I feel like this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And this is maybe some of the things we want to distract from, because as we've slowed things down, collectively there are these shifts and invitations to listen to your true self, your true calling. And what if we all put that grace into the world? But yeah, just feeling the call.
Yeah. What if we all put that best self, that divinely inspired, whatever we want, whatever language makes sense for you. Gosh, wouldn't that be another tipping point? Something has brought us collectively to this place that we're all experiencing,
Right.
and we could miss the moment. We could waste it if we don't truly embrace this as a fresh start, a resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Milo.
Milo agrees.
He agrees. Milo agrees we must embrace. Milo. He's so fun. Even Milo, I think, is feeling it lately. He's been wanting to be on top of me the last 2 days.
Yeah.
And he may have been feeling my internal shifts and my discomfort. Milo. Come on. Oh.
Those animals must be wondering too if their humans are home all the time. Like they must be like loving it on some level, but like what is happening here?
But on another level, saying, you're not supposed to be home. I can go on about my day.
Exactly. You're sitting in my favorite chair, people.
You're not supposed to be here at this time, right, Milo? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, Julie, would you play your lovely heart bowl and play us out today?
Yes, I would be thrilled to. Here she is.
Oh, I love that bowl. It's kind of a tiger bowl. It's got some light and dark around it.
Very heavy.
Yeah. Is it 10.5 inches?
Oh, you would ask. I don't know.
I have a feeling it looks about the same size as this one.
All right. So yeah, let's hold a little bit of that intention of what it is to listen to that guidance of this is the direction. This is the direction to focus on now. And to hear that call and to not be so quick to dismiss it.
And maybe even recognizing the discomfort is the invitation to hear the call.
Mm-hmm. Get curious. I think there's so much we can benefit from if we just stayed curious, not feeling like we have to make a choice really quickly.
Right.
Curiosity is enough for a while.
Lovely.
And here we go. From my heart to yours.
that really hung around for a little while in my heart center. Thank you for that, Julie.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, have a super few days, and I'm excited to see what poem finds you.
Okay, me too, my friend. Stay
Bye,
well.
Julie.
Bye.